So today what we're going to do is we're going to kick off 2021, new teams, new structure, and Senator Jeff Smith is our guest speaker. And so he'll be able to tell us about the new legislation that will be introduced. So that's what's in store for us today. We're just using the same structure as last time. So we'll have people presenting a little bit. We'll have 10 minutes to get to know each other a little bit and talk through how we'd like to be involved. Carlene will give us updates after Senator Smith speaks. We'll hear about an opportunity for deep canvassing to end gerrymandering, and that'll be it. You'll be on your way to dinner or cocktails or whatever's next. So first, I just want to acknowledge and thank everyone for the great work that happened last year. I think we had a great foundation. We've got a lot of letters to the editors, videos, cartoons, a lot of materials that we're going to be able to continue to use and reuse as we work this year. We have developed relationships with elected officials. And hopefully you feel, as I do, that I learned a lot in the last 6 months. And so I feel much more equipped now than I would have 6 months ago to dive into 2021 with everything that's happening. And so this year, we are going to structure our team according to the kind of the points of leverage that we have. So one of the things that is still ongoing is the People's Map Commission. So we're going to have a team that's focused on that, and you'll hear from Anne Marie about that in a moment. Another team is the legislative team. So there will be a new law introduced, which Senator Jeff Smith will tell us about. And then eventually the legislature is going to have to vote on what the next map will be, which could be vetoed and could go to the courts, but there will be a vote. And so it's important to focus on that as well. And Douglas and Anne will tell you a bit more about that in a second. Kathleen Hobart's helping with coordinating the referendum team. So you'll hear about that. And that's really important because it helps us raise awareness in the county that the referendum's happening. And it also is good information for us to use when we talk to legislators to say, hey, look, this passed in your district by 76%. You need to pay attention. Carol Skinner will talk to us in a minute as well. She's going to be our legal liaison. So there will be a fair amount of things happening legally this year. There's already one rule change that Carol will tell us a little bit about, and there's sure to be more. So Carol will be able to bring to us that news and then let us know if there are ways that we can be involved. And then one team from last year that we're going to continue to have this year is the video team, because we know that's a really good way of engaging with people, especially on social media. People are far more likely to watch a video than read text or respond to a picture. So we'll continue that too. So that's what things are going to look like. As for timing, we're really focusing on the first 6 months of the year. There's a lot of things that we're not sure exactly when will happen, like when the maps will be made. But we're really focusing on the first 6 months, and then we'll be able to reevaluate, see if what we're doing is working well, if we want to shift things, and as we head into the second part of the year. So if you're committing to being part of a team at this moment, we're asking that you commit if possible through June. And of course, if something happens and you can't, that's okay. But think of it as a 6-month commitment if you can. By the time you're vaccinated, hopefully things are different. In the meantime, you can be on Zoom. So that's that. And this table will complete, and I'll have on the website too as we move along. So as we get more information, I'll be sharing that with you. And next, I'll give the team leads an opportunity to tell you about their teams. And at the end of the meeting, you'll get to decide if how you'd like to participate and if you'd like to join one of the teams. So pay close attention. All right, Anne Marie, you first.
Hi, are you sharing your screen with the slides? I know you had a nice slide deck there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Maybe I'm missing it.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Oh, thank you. So I am a lead looking for a co-lead for the People's Map Commission team. For those of you that don't know me, I am a member of the People's Map Commission, and so we're looking for kind of I would be like a liaison, but also help with the this organization to publicize the work of the PMC, encourage citizens to participate in the hearings. As our MAP group, our commission matures, and in the next few months, and we'll be actually actively working on maps. Maybe they will be test maps, but we'll end up having a lot of questions and needing confirmation from the community on what we think are the communities of interest in each congressional district. We'll need some input on what we think are good criteria for drawing district maps, and there'll be other topics that arise as we move forward. So this group would help publicize basically the work of the PMC, and then once we actually get the maps together and they will actually be compared against what the legislature puts together, we'll need to have people that are really working to get that word out. As we know, the PMC is an advisory group, so the more that we can advertise the work, the better off we're going to be. So if you're interested, Janelle will tell you how to put your name in the hat. And our group will meet and we will organize ourselves as we go along. We're waiting on the census data. Our timelines are really soft right now. We don't really have firm timelines yet. The People's Map Commission dates, I put them out here just to remind everyone that you can log in and testify at any one of them, but the one of most interest to our group will be January 28th for the 7th Congressional District. And there is training on people that want to testify, and Carlene will talk about that in a little bit.
Awesome, thank you.
Are those dates correct? I just got something in the email today that said the CD7 was on February 11th.
CD7 was when? I think they say
something. It's Carolyn from Osceola. I got something in the email today or possibly yesterday that indicated that CD7's hearing was on February 11th.
I think that's the old date, so they changed it. I think the website's all up to date now, and it should be the 28th.
Yeah.
That just came out today or yesterday. So
let me check it real
Why
quick.
don't just shoot it to me, Carolyn? I think you have my email, and I'll look into it. But I'm sure that date is correct.
I'll look.
That's what we're working
with
with
tonight. I'll shoot it to you tomorrow, Anne Marie.
Sure.
I think what it was, this is Juliet, I think it is telling you to register by that date. But there's actually
testify.
Yeah, so that I got an email about that too, so we'll get it cleared up.
Great. Can
I ask you a question?
Sure.
So when you're talking about drafting the maps, are you drafting them for our region or what?
For the commission is charged with doing it for the whole state. So we will draw the maps for the state senate and all the other districts too for the House.
From your group for the whole state?
Yes.
Great. And I just checked the People's Map Commission website, and it does still say January 28th. So unless they failed to update it, that should be correct. Next, I'll pass the floor to Anne and Douglas.
Douglas, go ahead.
All right. We have an interesting form of government here in Wisconsin. And our challenge is to work with the people who have set up a system that's not fair. And so our goal at this moment is to find people on the other side of the aisle who have a strong interest in more fair representation. So we're going to work with those contacts that we're already established and build new ones. And the idea is lots of outreach and working together with our activist elements of the Western Wisconsin nonpartisan voting team. Do you want to add anything to that, Ann?
Just that we're looking for innovative ways to connect with legislators who haven't in the past wanted to listen to us. So we're welcoming all great new ideas about how to convince people that fair maps, people who are voting on fair maps, that it's an important thing to have happen in the state. So we need help with convincing, connecting.
Yeah, I think both Ann and I have some experience in this realm, but we're looking for people that have lots of direct contact with the process. I've lived for most of the last 30 years on the Minnesota side, so I have less knowledge, but I've now subscribed to the Milwaukee Star or Tribune Sentinel, so I'm on the inside.
Jan, do you have a question?
I do. A question for Doug and Ann. So are you especially in need of Republican volunteers on this?
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All
Yeah, that's
right.
great.
Or people willing to recruit Republicans.
Or just helping us get this issue in front of more people on the Republican side. So yeah, all of that.
Great. All right, next, Kathleen.
Hey, so I'm Kathleen. I live in Polk County, and I've been working with a group of folks to get a referendum on the ballot for April. And there's also a group of folks working on that in Buffalo County, and I'm kind of acting as point person between the counties and Janelle. And so basically, I think people that would join this team, it would be if you live in either of those counties and you want to help with any last minute pressuring. Like right now, we're just trying to make phone calls and try to pressure the committees and boards to put the referendum through. And then after that, once they get approved, the work would be helping with publicity and getting out the vote once the referendums are officially on the ballot, so that we get the most people to vote for it as possible. So our timeline is in Polk County, we're sending it through a committee first on January 14th, and then on the 19th, it's going, hopefully it'll go to the full county board and hopefully it'll pass. And then in Buffalo County, I just talked with those folks, and their meeting's on the 25th. And the election's on April 6th. So between, the end of January and April, we'll be trying to just let everybody know about gerrymandering and that they should vote no or vote yes for the referendum, which is for a nonpartisan procedure. So I think that's all I have to say. I guess I would add, if you are just like really excited about the referendum, I don't know that you necessarily would need to live in either of those counties to help with publicity or events or things like that. So if it's something you're excited about and it passes, yeah.
Awesome, thank you. And next, Carol can tell us about the latest that she heard from today. Carol's on the call. Are you on mute, Carol?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, perfect.
Good. So I don't know if everyone is aware of the Will Jensen redistricting petition, which has been filed by Scott Jensen, I believe. And they're basically wanting the Supreme Court to take original jurisdiction of change the way the redistricting would occur, saying that because we have a split government, because the governor is a Democrat and the legislature is Republican, then it's going to certainly end up in court. And therefore, they want to go directly to the Supreme Court instead of having it start in this lower courts. And they're saying that that's just because they want to save time, because it's not going to be enough time between when the Census Bureau figures come out and they draw up maps, and then they assume that no one will be able to agree, so they want the Supreme Court to take jurisdiction of it originally instead of, you know, starting where it ought to start. And the problem with that, I think, is that there's going to be less time for public comment, less time for people to understand what's going on. The last time the census was taken in 2010, it was basically done, all of it was done in a back room, which is how we ended up with the maps we did. And no one wants that again. And so people are opposing the petition that has been filed. And so that what we were talking about today on the phone was just a lot of the people on the call were people who are intending to provide testimony to the Supreme Court at the hearing on the 14th, which is for one of the, I think it's the 4th congressional district. So it was just interesting for me to hear what people were intending to talk about, how they were going to approach it. And everyone has been encouraged to approach it with kind of personal stories about how this redistricting would feel to them and how it might affect them. So that's pretty much what was the basis of the call, was just people kind of trying out their ideas and seeing what everyone else thought of them. That makes sense?
Awesome, thank you. And I think people can watch the hearing if they want to. Is that right?
Yes. So there are two different hearings on the 14th. The one that you're talking about, Carol, is the Supreme Court hearing, and it's in the morning. The one for the 4th congressional district is the People's Maps Commission hearing that Anne Marie is part of. So they're two very, very separate things.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have the link, Carlene, for listening to the hearing for the rules change handy?
I do not have it. I can put the Wisconsin Eye website on here. They don't put their schedule up until like a couple days before. So I would suggest checking it on the 13th and seeing if they have their schedule for the 14th up yet. If not, check it the morning of the 14th. The hearing does start at 9:30, and the people who are testifying will be participating by Zoom. And then other people can watch via Wisconsin Eye.
Perfect, thank you.
Can I ask for clarification? With this Will Jensen petition, is this going to the legislature to make a decision? Who's this petition to?
The petition is to the Supreme Court for a rules change, a change in the way any maps would be litigated.
Why would they have power to change that from the legislature?
It's not, the legislature will draw the maps. They'll go to the governor. The governor is likely to veto them. And I'm actually going to go over this in my presentation later. And then they'll go to court. Well, they'll have the opportunity to go back to the legislature and draw something that the governor will sign. Whether that happens or not is a very different thing. And then what Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty and Scott Jensen have asked is for the Supreme Court to change the rules as they stand now, which means starting in lower courts and going through the whole evidence finding and lower court testimony, skipping all that and going directly to the state Supreme Court, so that there's not any input from citizens. There's not any input from nonprofit membership groups like the League or the League of Conservation Voters or any of that.
But it doesn't change the process. They'd still go from the legislature to the governor.
Correct.
Okay, I thought you were gonna bypass that, and I thought, how could the court?
No, this is about
Yeah.
where maps would be litigated.
Yes, okay.
Perfect. Thank you. And thanks a lot, Carol. It's going to be really valuable for us to have you and tracking what's happening in this front. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And I'll do the last team. The last team's the video team. So this is a continuation of last year's, but if anyone new wants to join, please feel free. And if you'd like to see everything that we have so far, there's a lot of it on our website, of course. But you can also go to YouTube and look for Pierce County Grassroots Organizing, and some videos for those of you who are maybe interested in digging deeper. There's edited interviews that we made for social media that are short, but there are also some unedited videos with Jay Heck, Matt Rothschild, Tony Phillips, Tim Collin, Dale Schultz, and all of those have a tremendous amount of information in them. So if ever you're looking for a way to dig a little deeper and you want to watch something, feel free to check all that out.
BOF, JOF.
And
Janelle?
yeah, so join
I would
this
add-
team. Oh, go ahead.
I would add one thing. So we've got the YouTube, the website, and maybe the Instagram listed there. I would urge, if there's anyone on this call that is not following our Twitter feed also, I would urge you to do that. And I'll put that in the chat, but it's at Elbridge Project. And so anybody that's already on Twitter, I'm going to put it in the chat, and I would urge you to follow that also. One of the things that we're pushing right now is increasing our followers.
Awesome. Thank you, Bob.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, if you have ideas for videos, if you're good at communicating or writing scripts, if you like speaking on camera, or if you have technology skills, or just this sounds interesting to you, join us in the fun. So those are our teams, and we'll come back to them at the end when we'll give you an opportunity to sign up. If you are leaving the meeting early, if you just want to put in the chat your name, your email address, and what team you would like to be a part of, feel free to do that, and I'll just check the chat when the meeting's over. But big thanks to all of the team leads that have stepped up and are going to help make a lot of good things happen in the coming 6 months. So there we go. Before we pass the table to Senator Jeff Smith, I just wanted us to take a little bit of time, one, get to know each other, and two, talk about why you're motivated to end gerrymandering and how you would like to participate in ending. So it's the beginning of the year. I don't know if gerrymandering was in any of your resolutions, maybe not. But here's an opportunity to kind of just take stock of where we're at and what you're hoping, how you're hoping to participate in the coming 6 months. So I'll put us into breakout rooms and have fun meeting or chatting with your fellow members. Let's see, Carlene, do you want to be in a meeting, in a breakout room?
Doesn't matter. I think when I'm in a room that there's a lot of deference to me and not a whole lot of other conversation. So
Yeah, I know, it happens to me too. Oh, here we go. Pat joined. I'm going to put Pat into meeting 1. Welcome, Jeff.
I'm there. I finally unmuted myself. I'm using my phone. How are you all?
doing well, thanks.
Yeah,
Nice to
it
see
is a new day. Yesterday was not such a, anyway, I don't know. Everything's kind of scary right now, isn't it?
It is. I'm grateful to be in Wisconsin and not elsewhere.
At the moment. We don't get to say that often anymore, do we, Carlene?
No, we don't.
I did hear on Oh, on I think it was NBC while I was eating breakfast this morning, we had it on and they interviewed they had a senator from Oregon, and he said, and he was really they're all being very blunt now. I mean, they're not holding back now. But as he spoke, he said the things that caused this to happen. The first thing he said was gerrymandering.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get Google alerts, and the two terms are gerrymandering and nonpartisan redistricting. And there was somebody else who mentioned it today related to what made senators and U.S. U.S. Assembly congressional people feel like they could sign on to things that they might not have otherwise, and I think Tom Tiffany is a prime example of that, right? I mean, who in the world?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look at the COVID bill we're dealing with that they're passing, and now I just read, well, now we just got a notice that we're probably going to the floor on Tuesday, but we're going to have even a worse version because Steve Nass is insisting they add some other things in there. Has nothing to do with health, but it's the same reason. You can't, we are never going to get past the nastiness of politics and the ignoring of the greater good unless they have to answer to the voters.
Right. So true. Yep.
Yeah.
Any word yet on who might introduce in the assembly?
Well, I need to call, I'm going to call Robin Vining probably, I might find time tomorrow. So this is actually, timing is actually, turns out to be good. Today was day 2 of a 3-day conference I'm in on redistricting.
Oh, you're doing that?
National
I
conference.
almost did that.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the middle of it, like today, I had to have caucus with my members in the middle of the day, which included a 30 minutes out of our 2 hours was with Evers, which I'm gonna probably mention this tonight, Janelle. So
Right.
and I started off with asking him where redistricting reform might be with him in his office and in the possible budget proposal. He didn't let on too much. He's really careful not to take any chances of something leaking. But he said something will be in the budget is the answer I got.
Yeah.
But anyway, all of that timing is good because I have something to say, I guess, about redistricting and all that goes with it.
Yeah, I think you'll probably get questions on timing.
Yeah, for sure.
I was just gonna say, I'll just say who you are, welcome you, but if you want to take a few minutes at the beginning, we have about 25 minutes, but if you want to take a few minutes just to say a little bit about yourself, it's up to you. We can dive straight into questions, but if you'd like to, I know this gerrymandering is a big issue for you, so if you want to explain that to people, or it's up to you, however you want to use the time, and then I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions.
I think
I think my
thing when you talk about 2009
credibility area, so I will do that.
Great.
Awesome. So last night was the 8th Congressional District meeting, or no, 2 nights ago, Tuesday. And one of the things that Penny mentioned, and she probably already talked to you about this, was the that Roth and LeMahieu are both in that area, and if either Lee or I can't remember the other woman's name up in Door County, maybe one of them I'm sure Lee Snodgrass would jump at the chance to.
Yeah, and I talked to Penny about that. So we'll see. I first need to talk.
Right.
Yeah. Hi, Janelle.
Hi, was there a question?
No. Did you think there was?
Oh, it's strange. I never got a message like this, but it said, Elizabeth asked for assistance in room
Oh.
4.
She's not on. She's here, but she's not really on. So maybe she's asking for assistance with getting into the group. Because you can see her name, but she's not, it's just Grace and I. Grace and I are the ones doing the chatting.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
and Elizabeth hasn't
I can
spoken.
send her a message. Oh, I wonder how I can.
Well, and we just got a message that our time is running out.
Yeah, I'm gonna close the rooms now. Hopefully she's where she wants to be. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
All right, see you back in the big room.
Okay, well, we're glad you popped in.
Good to see the two of you and well,
Bye.
hear Grace's voice.
Yeah.
And Carol and I'm working on the video project.
Oh, good.
Social media team, and
She's in the governor's office. She's a legal counsel, and she's been the person who's kind of taken the lead on the People's Maps Commission. So she and Jamie Kuhn are the two that have been the major contacts on this.
Sure.
Okay.
Well, that actually, and I think you and about this before, they kind of want to wait for that maps commission. And that's another issue.
That's a bad idea. Sachin and I will put pressure on from our side because we both think that's a bad idea.
All right,
Yeah,
people will be
I
coming.
leave it. I trust you. All right. Thanks.
Welcome back. If there's any insights, new ideas, anything from your group, put it in the chat so we can capture it. Or any particularly unusual reasons to want to be involved. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
And
This is Juliet. As people are coming back in, we had a subject come up that maybe Carlene will cover in her presentation, but if she wasn't going to, if she could emphasize what Carol had talked about, that one piece of that one rules change that is being forwarded, emphasizing the fact that if we don't have this window for making the record, I'm going to just defer. Why don't, Carol, will you?
Yeah. I'll definitely include that.
Great. Okay, never mind. I just want to be sure that everybody understood that and that maybe that's a whole nother, not a team, but maybe the legislative team has to take that as a way of bringing people on board and aware of an issue that and being up in arms about it. So I just wanted to add that.
awesome, thank you. So yeah, any other comments or anything you want to put in the chat, let us know. Any ideas, thoughts, feel free to share them there. And we're super happy to have Senator Jeff Smith with us here this evening. So thank you for making time. And first I am sharing my screen now, right? Can you see my screen? No.
Oh.
Yeah, or what?
There we go. Thank you. I thought I would use we're used to seeing senators in a suit and tie, but I thought I found this on the World Wide Web and I thought it's more appropriate for Western Wisconsin than the suit and tie. So
And that means I could take my sweater off.
yes, you're in safe company. Nice. Yeah, so welcome to the meeting, Senator Smith, and I'll let you take the floor.
Sure. Thanks. I first of all, I want to thank you all for caring as you do enough about this really important topic. I think I don't have to tell you, this probably has been mentioned by each of you at some point, that we can't get anything good done for the state until we take care of this issue. We were just talking while you were in your breakout rooms that we could just go right down the line. In fact, I was talking about the COVID situation. We didn't meet for 260 days, more than that, right? We're now talking about a bill that they passed in the Assembly today, and we're supposed to meet in the Senate on Tuesday. That has little to do with the health of people, but has a lot to do with some radical thinking from one segment of the population. And so, but there's no accountability because they have no one to answer to except their leaders in their caucus. So this is just another example, but the lack of action during a pandemic should alarm people greatly. So that said, I will give a little background on myself, but mostly I do prefer having a conversation. So, but my background is, as the picture actually is, that's me. That's my building with my workshop in it, and it's just my daily attire, especially during this pandemic when I don't go anywhere. And in fact, during campaign, I actually say this a lot, but it's true, is that I start my day cleaning out our stalls, and it gets me and it puts me in the right place for the rest of the day for the business that I'm in. So a lot of people agree with that. So, but my actual real career was I owned and operated since I was 12 years old. I didn't own it since I was 12 years old, but worked for my father until he retired, and then I bought it from him, a window cleaning business. So I'm a hands-on person who I take great pride in trying to fix things, and this is just, and I think fixing redistricting is the biggest challenge of my life, is probably with all of you too. But I was a town chair. I've been involved in community volunteer and then as an elected official. It sort of balloons as you go through the process of public life. And I found I had some not just desire, but had some skills that this calls for, which led me to, but as I did all these things, I actually blame my wife, by the way, because when my children were born, my wife's a teacher. Now you're really going to get the story, but my wife's a teacher. And she said, you can continue to build your business. I was really building my business then. And I was working 12 to 16 hours a day. And she said, you can keep doing that until Emily is in kindergarten. And when she's in kindergarten, you're going to volunteer in the school because I can't. And I tell that story partially because of my background, but also to remind people that teachers who do totally advocate for parental involvement themselves can't be as involved with their own kids because they are involved with everyone else's kid. And so that was my role, and it changed my life because I did follow through. I did become involved, and it just changed my life. And school funding became a huge, important issue to me. I dived into it and got on statewide boards and study groups on school funding. But I found that I couldn't fix things unless I was a legislator. So I ran for my seat in the assembly, which had been held up to that point for 14 years by a person from the other party. And nobody thought that was a winnable seat, but I won in 2006. Granted, it was a good year for my party, but I won and held that seat for 2 sessions and lost it in 10 when there was this total rebellion against Barack Obama and healthcare in 2010. But I've hung around. I hung around like now you get to see my shirt that I like to wear because this is what I think of myself. I sold my business because in 2011, of all times when I actually lost that job, I sold my business because I decided, and my family was totally behind me, that full time, this was more important than anything else I could do. And that was to continue to advocate, to continue to organize, and I became a professional organizer, political organizer. And for 8 years, that's the sort of thing I did until this Senate seat opened up. And oh, and by the way, I missed the most important part for this meeting. I was literally gerrymandered out of my seat for those 8 years, even though I tried to win it back in 12 and worked really hard, but then became convinced, as hard as I worked, I could not win that seat back, even though I only lost it by 70 votes in 10. And it changed everything gerrymandering did. So I became a true believer that that's an issue. So anyway, that's where I am today. Fortunately, I got fortunate enough to come back as a state senator now in the 31st district, which includes, of course, my assembly district. And we need to fix this, and it is my top priority because of the fact, like I said, everything else we want to do, whether it's school funding, which drove me into politics, whether it's assuring healthcare for everyone, whether it's fixing our roads, for crying out loud, we do not get the service we deserve from our elected officials because they don't need to answer to us. So that's my story. I will answer any questions. Janelle, I suppose I could give them an update first of what I was talking to you about. Maybe would you prefer I do that first and then?
Sure, go ahead. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah. So we have the bill in my office ready to be introduced. Just an hour ago, talking again to my chief of staff because we're having conversations then with our leaders. I am now caucus chair, so I'm a leader as well on the leadership team, but my cohorts in the leadership team, as well as the governor's office. And we would like to be sure we don't spring surprises on anybody. We want them to know this is coming. And of course, we want co-authors and co-sponsors. So we are going to spend the next days or week on building that co-authors and then release it for even more co-sponsorship. And so the job of all of you, by the way, is to maybe once again go around and once this bill is out there for co-sponsorship, be nagging both Democrats and Republicans to sign on to that bill. And so that'll happen. I'm telling you that'll happen, but there's still a slight chance we will continue to hold out a little bit longer if there is some conversation about what the governor wants to do. And so I will tell you, because I always like to be totally open with you. I don't want you to be give you all this glossy, oh, this is going to happen, and then it doesn't. Because one of the most exciting things I think that has happened while I've been in office these 2 years was when the governor, in his last address last year, announced he was creating the People's Map Commission. I did not expect it. I jumped up on the floor, was yelling. I mean, that was just fantastic. This is exactly what our bill would do. This is exactly the model we want to follow. So I can understand that the governor wants to be sure, doesn't want to conflict with the fact that he created this commission and they should get their work done before we do something else. So I kind of get where he's conflicted a little bit about what the action he's already taken, and they are just still wrapping up their hearings. And the only problem with that, and Carlene and I agree on this full-heartedly, is that the majority party is not going to wait for the Maps Commission, right? The majority party has proven, as they did 10 years ago, that they don't really care that much about the census data or anything else that you should necessarily care about. They're going to probably introduce a map that will come to the floor and we'll have to vote on way sooner than we want to do that. So I think that we need to be, at least we need to introduce this alternative method, so we have something to talk about. And so we have some comparison that the way it's being done is not the right way, but this is the way we could be doing it. So we got to have something to be able to use as support for that argument. So that's where we're at as of today. I actually had a conversation face to face with the governor today, and got some indication of something coming up from the governor's office. But I also pretty much are letting them know that we're ready to introduce this bill, and we don't want to wait too much longer. So I'm open to questions, though.
So what does the bill encompass? Is it got the method to do the map making, or what?
Literally, this is the same bill that we've introduced in the past, with the Iowa model of a nonpartisan commission, which is what the governor has now introduced as the People's Maps Commission. And so it is that same bill that we've tried to get a hearing on before. Which, oh, by the way, I should say one other thing about my background that I'm really proud of and I brag about all the time. I am the only, I was chair of the elections in the assembly when I was in the assembly. And I am the only legislator who has actually held a hearing on this bill. Yeah, but even then, I will tell you, we were in the majority, and my leaders were foolish enough to think that they had everything under control, and we did not get a vote on the floor on that bill, as you know.
Jeff, there's a question in the chat. Can people read the bill right now?
No, not yet. But when it is introduced, it'll have an LRB, that's a Legislative Reference Bureau number, and we'll let you know what that is, and then you'll be able to look it up.
So Jeff, is the language the same as SB 288? If I put that
Yeah.
link, could they see?
Yeah, I don't think anything has changed.
So, go ahead.
Jeff, do you have lists of legislators who might be persuaded to join the bill? Are there people that would be more receptive to discussion along this line that we could start talking to, or?
Well, I can't tell you that I have, like Carlene has just now shown you a link to last year's bill. There will be a list on that of co-sponsors. And among those sponsors, I think there were 3 Republicans. Is that right, Carlene? I think there were 3 Republicans 5. As well as all the Democrats. 5.
I'll put their names in here.
So, yeah, so we should be definitely approaching them again. Plus, I know that a couple of us on this call have had this conversation before, that a new representative from the 29th Assembly District, which is the Menominee area, Moses, he during the primary in a question in a newspaper questionnaire, he replied in the affirmative for redistricting reform. So I would think that is worth approaching again with him. So that'd be an addition to the ones we've had before.
I think I should get
But they're all in the assembly, I think, that, right, Carlene? I don't think we have a Republican senator on the bill.
No, there were no Republican senators. There were 5 Republican assembly co-sponsors, and I'll put their names and their assembly districts. Just so you know, 3 of them were down here in the 3rd congressional district, which is very purple. It's held in Congress by Ron Kind, who is a Democrat. So that was 96, 49, and 51. then Joel Kitchens in Door County. And probably the most significant is Jeff Mursaw, who is in way up here in the 36th Assembly District, which is very, very red district. And I can also put the link to his question of the week. He sends a question of the week. It's very good language. If you're approaching a Republican senator, he gave a very unbiased description of the bill and just asked his constituents, and you'll be able to see that. I'll put that link in here as well, whether they thought he should support it or not. And this is a man who didn't have an opponent. So he's untouchable in many, many ways. And he co-sponsored this legislation in a very Republican, untouchable district. So I think that it is definitely a possibility to get more folks like this Moses fella to sign on.
Jeff, are you able to share with us what that governor's rationale is for waiting?
Well, like I said, I can only suppose and try to understand the fact that he has formed this People's Maps Commission to start with, and he doesn't want to make it look like there's some conflict or this isn't the way. You know, he wants them to be able to do their work. He doesn't want to look like he's interfering with their work.
Sure. That makes sense.
Is the primary difference between the bill and the People's Map Commission is that somebody's going to have some authority as the People's Map Commission does not?
The People's Map Commission, even in this bill, they don't have authority. The authority still lies within the legislature. That's statutory. As in fact, it might even be something. Well, there is something in the Constitution as well. So the final say has to be by the Assembly, and then it's like any other bill. Then the governor has to sign it. Now, the reason it works, though, is politically, it's like suicide, and I've heard this from Iowa, that it's like suicide if anybody were to actually vote against a map that was drawn by citizens to determine their districts. So so even though it does come down to the legislature, it's public pressure basically that can't be that just can't be undermined in a situation like this, as it has proven in the years, 40 years, I think, or 30 or 40 years in Iowa.
40.
Yeah.
Jeff, is there anything, I mean, that any way to put brakes on the legislature from going forward and calling for approval of the maps? Or putting the brakes on their process to make sure that the People's Maps Commission gets to go its full, gets to unfold all of its findings as well as your legislation gets in? Is there any way that they're tied together, or could one just advance before the others, as you're concerned about?
Well, a couple things I'll address on that. First of all, the answer would be no. That's the quick, short answer. There's nothing that we've ever found in 10 years, right, of that we stop the majority party from doing most anything they want. A roughshod. They look at what they did in December of 2018 after Governor Evers won the election. They have no fear of voters, so they take power away from the governor. They challenge everything that has been tried for this to halt this pandemic, so there's no fear from them, so they'll just do what they want. But I also, the other point I wanted to make there was, oh boy, what was it? It had to do, my dog just jumped up next to me, so now I'm distracted. Yeah. it was how you phrased that question. Again, I don't want you to think, oh, I know. No matter what, even under the best of circumstances this year, this bill is not going to change how things happen this year. Right? So this bill is more or less for the future, because we now know, I mean, whatever it is this year is going to happen. We hope the MAPS Commission has some influence. The one thing it will help do, just a second, I'm sorry. Can you do something with?
The dog has strong opinions. And Carolyn's cat's quietly sleeping.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got one grumpy older dog who doesn't take, yeah.
Well, I
So,
think my
anyway,
cat was attracted to the sound of the dog.
Anyway, so keeping in mind, and just to be in the real world here, we want to introduce a bill that is what we would what the preference would be for a system for redistricting that we have to talk about. If we have no bill, we have nothing to talk about.
Right.
We have nothing to demonstrate with, right? So between that and the People's Maps Commission, what it does is they will develop a map from that. So it gives the governor something to show and say, look, this is the map they gave me from the legislature to sign. Well, I can't sign this. Look at this map that the People's Commission came up with, right? So he's got, and also when it goes to in front of the judges, which hopefully it does the normal procedure, goes to the federal district judges, they'll also be presented with these two very different maps. So it won't be just the Republican map or the majority party map that they get to look at. So all those things, I want you to just, be pragmatic about this, is how it's actually going to play out this year. And then, all along, what we're trying to do is build this case that, look, you didn't get your way this year. Don't you think that for the sake of our democracy, for the sake of your legacy and all those things, let's just do this now. Because after this redistricting session, there's 10 years, we're looking at 10 years out. Why not do that now? Well, we might be able to convince these legislators, let's do it. Let's pass this thing and have it ready for the next time.
I think we have time for one more question, and then we should dive in with Carlene to what's happening in Wisconsin. Is there one last question for Jeff?
I have a question. So if you're saying that this legislation that you're proposing will not affect this redistricting this year with this census, then we have already lost the game for 10 years.
No, not because we have the governor who has the power to veto the map sent to him.
But the legislation won't make an effect on that. The
legislation, we're going to be lucky to get a hearing on this legislation, but we're certainly not going to get a hearing and pass it before the map that is drawn by the majority party is sent on to the governor.
Okay.
I think
Wanda, it's worth keeping in mind how long Jeff has been in this fight and how long he plans to stay in this fight. There's nothing easy about this. It's pushing a not round rock up a really big hill. And so understanding the realities doesn't mean we don't continue to push that rock up the hill. And we're not all pushing at the same time. I mean, sometimes some of us need to take a break, but we got to keep pushing that rock up the hill.
And I don't want to discourage people. I'm just trying to be honest with everyone. I don't give up because I can't afford to give up. because I have 2 daughters in their 20s. You all have children and grandchildren. We're not doing this because we expect something to happen tomorrow. We are doing this because we expect to leave something that we are proud of.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming tonight, Senator Jeff Smith, and thank you for your leadership in the Senate on this. We really great. So we're gonna dive right back in. Carlene is going to give us an update on what's happening across the state.
Hi, everybody. Good to see you again. Happy New Year. And it just feels like, you know, we're not even a full week into the new year and already so many things have happened. Sometimes it's hard to keep track. So the People's Maps Commission that has been referred to already several times has its next hearing in the 4th Congressional District next Thursday, and then 3 weeks from tonight there will be a hearing in the 7th Congressional District. We will be hosting 2 things: testimony training for anybody who is interested in testifying before the commission on Saturday the 23rd at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's a link in the slide there to registering. And then also on the 25th, there will be a panel of local folks, of which Janelle is a member, and you can register for that as well. So the panel will also show on Facebook Live, so you don't have to be in the Zoom, although you can be in the Zoom. So if you register, you get a link to the Zoom. If you don't register, you can watch it on Facebook Live. So those are the 2 things that we're doing and we do that for every People's Maps Commission hearing. Also, well, you don't live in the 4th CD, that's the Milwaukee area, but the commission's website is linked there as well, with the link to register to testify orally went live today. So that's what's going on there. And then the next slide. So this is what's likely to happen, and a lot of what Jeff was talking about. I gotta close this door, hold on. I have a husband who plays the guitar, and music is lovely, but it travels. So the Supreme Court hearing will happen next Thursday morning, and this hearing is about the rules of how maps are litigated. I just want to go into just a little bit of detail on that. So maps in the past, when they've been litigated, and they have been litigated in 1981, 91, 2001, and 2011, went to federal courts. What Will and Scott Jensen have asked for is for that rule to change and any map litigation to go directly to the state Supreme Court. And I think what Juliet was getting at is that the reason why that is a problem is that it skips all of the fact finding in lower courts and the opportunities for people like us to testify and give information that has bearing on maps. So this rules change has been asked for once before in 2003. The court assigned it to a committee. They studied it for 6 years. And in 2009, they decided not to change the rules. Scott Jensen and Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty asked for this rules change in summer, and they want it before the maps are drawn. So there are lots of reasons why this is a bad idea. And you know, it may end up eventually in the state Supreme Court, but the state Supreme Court is like an appellate court. So there's the legislation that Jeff is going to be introducing There's the People's Maps Commissions that are continuing. We do not know when the census numbers are going to be finalized. Our timeline begins when those numbers come back. We believe that the Republicans will probably draw maps very much like the ones we have now, and they'll probably be presented in summer. As Jeff mentioned, the People's Maps Commission will create alternative maps that will give the governor and the courts something to compare. The governor is likely to veto those maps, and we are likely to end up in court. This is probably over the next year, year and a half.
Thank you, Carlene. That was
Yeah.
fast. Thank you. We're running just a little bit behind, so I put a little fire there for that slide. But I want to welcome Diana Witcher to our call. She's from Western Wisconsin Votes, which is another organization here in Western Wisconsin, so kind of a sister organization. And they have some great plans around reaching out to people. And so I wanted to be sure that she could come let us know about that. So here's Diana Witcher.
Hi, everyone. My name is Diana. I'm an organizer with Western Wisconsin Votes, and we're a team who worked to get out the vote and support progressive candidates in Northwestern Wisconsin around the election. And I guess I will start by telling you a short story. I come from a family of activists, and I started volunteering for political campaigns for Obama in 2008. And in January of 2017, I returned to Menominee with my 14-year-old daughter after completing graduate school in Austin, Texas. And I think when we moved back, that really allowed me to see our community with new eyes. We readjusted to cold winters, and we welcomed the beautiful summers and the landscape of hills, lakes, and streams. But we saw this community that we had been a part of since before my daughter was born there had been some, dramatic changes. We saw some encouraging things in our hometown, like a thriving Menominee Market food co-op. New businesses were filling up the downtown spaces, and we saw new farms and restaurants starting to make their way. But we also saw a school system that was struggling with budget cuts and inadequate resources for students who needed more help. And we saw an increase in poverty and substance abuse in our neighbors who were just living very close by. We also saw fewer kids. My son is a few years older. People were choosing not to go for a college education after high school. And I think after Donald Trump was elected that fall, I knew I was really ready to make a change in our community. So in June of last year, our 8 leadership team members organized a grassroots campaign that was focused on getting out the vote in Northwestern Wisconsin. And we did this by having longer conversations with voters in Dunn and St. Croix counties. And we decided to take the time to listen to their concerns. And through community building and organizing, we laid the groundwork for lasting political change in Wisconsin. We organized community events, deep canvassing trainings, and phone banks to help mobilize our community and have meaningful conversations to help encourage our neighbors to cast their ballot this election and for each of those to come. We trained 108 deep canvassers during 9 deep canvassing training workshops. We held 32 deep canvassing events, and our team ultimately canvassed 1,400 voters and had 782 deep canvassing conversations. And I'm going to share a story by one of our wonderful team members. If you will bear with me, it may take a moment for me to find it. Working. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes.
Andy Gertner. I'm from Glenwood City, Wisconsin. I grew up in Wisconsin, in La Crosse and River Falls. When I go into the voting booth, although I might have issues in mind, I'm also thinking about people behind those issues. And one of the issues is climate change. It's really top on my list. And I know people in Honduras. I'm part of a group called Farmer to Farmer, and we bring coffee up from Honduras and Guatemala And every year I visit with coffee farmers. And these farmers over the years have become some of my best friends. We stay in touch on WhatsApp and such. Every year there's something that's being affected through climate change affecting the coffee. The warmer temperatures are moving diseases and insects up the mountain where they've never been. The increase in hurricanes and droughts that comes with the climate change affects Central America because it's kind of a coming together place for both of those. It's a good year when they can get a crop that's really good. And I think about how if we can come together to stop climate change, it's gonna save their livelihood, but also every other farmer. I'm a teacher and a farmer here in Wisconsin, and we had almost 8 inches rain this year, which should be unheard of. But that's the sort of thing you can expect with climate change. And we say, oh, well, that's just a freak thing. Well, freak things are going to become more common with climate change. For me, I think of all the people whose livelihood depends on having a stable climate, and I bring them into the voting booth with me.
Yeah, so we all practiced and imperfectly told our stories and then told them again. And we called a lot of people, and I think that, you know, we helped to contribute to turning Wisconsin blue, but unfortunately we didn't have much success supporting the smaller candidates. Pretty much everyone we were trying to help for the smaller offices were defeated a lot, you know, because of this issue with gerrymandering. And so I will just go a little bit into deep canvassing, which is not a traditional conversation. We're not asking voters necessarily to support a specific candidate, but we might ask them if they plan to vote for one. So we share this personal story like Andy did. And then we have a conversation where we ask them to tell us a story. These conversations usually last about 15 to 30 minutes. And this approach has proven to have a memorable impact on voters. It's kind of a golden conversation where you actually can change someone's mind, but we have had success with that. And if nothing else, we can listen to people's concerns and we can help them become aware of elections and issues. We found that many people weren't even aware of like Ron Kind, our senator, our US senator. And that was kind of mind blowing. So I think it was really an amazing project, and we were able to talk to a bunch of people and learn about their concerns. So one of our goals is to reach out to organizations that are working towards more just political policies, and fair maps is one of the issues we would like to support. So we're working on hopefully a storytelling workshop and Canvas events in February. And I hope that your members will join us to learn how to tell effective stories and connect with others for more effective communication. We want to teach people to listen to voters and neighbors about the concerns that matter to them. And so if you would like to join us for a happy hour on Thursday, January 14th, you can register on our website or follow us on Facebook to keep up with our latest events. And I really appreciate, Janelle, you taking the time to have me speak here today.
Thank you so much, Diana. I think it's really a great opportunity for us to participate with Western Wisconsin Votes because they have a system in place to reach out to people and have really good, deep conversations. And we're not going to end gerrymandering in Wisconsin unless we get more people on board. So it's a really great opportunity for us to work with Western Wisconsin Votes in that way. So in February, there will be deep canvassing ending gerrymandering events that you'll be able to participate in. So thank you very much, Diana. And we're 5 minutes over. I'm really sorry. If you can hang on 3 more minutes, I'm just going to wrap everything up super fast. So here are the teams again: People's Map Commission, Legislative, Referendum, Video team. I know a lot of you have already, but if you haven't yet, just put in the chat your name, your email, and the team you'd like to participate in, and I'll get everyone connected in the next week. Our next meeting is February 4th. And as Bob mentioned earlier, follow us as much as you can, share messages. So I've put here both PC Grow on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and then also the Wisconsin Fair Maps Coalition. So the more we can amplify that, the more people see the message, which is really good. And following up on Jeff Smith and the fact that things take a while, I just want to remind us that things always seem impossible until it's done. So we may be a long way from the light at the end of the tunnel right now, but we're moving in the right direction. And just for kicks, here's our let's do it guy. So if you all want to take yourself off of mute and let's bid each other a good evening by saying, let's do it. So thank you very much, everyone. And 1, 2, 3, let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right, take care, everyone. Thank you so much for your participation.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
So Janelle, will all this stuff in the chat stay? Is there some way that we can access it later?
Yeah, it automatically saves it. So I'll have it on my computer and I can share it with you if you'd like.
The other thing you can do is if you select, I think it's if you select the 3 dots there, there's a save chat, so you can save it yourself.
Okay.
Do you see those 3 dots?
No. Oh, on the bottom there. Yes, now I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
So select that and then save it. And I end up having to do that. It's always a race to do that before the organizer signs us off.
And then how do we access that later?
It will show up on your hard
Downloads,
drive.
maybe?
Let's see if I can tell you where it goes to.
For me, when I clock out, it opens a window and I have it right there. I think it's in my latest downloads.
Okay.
Latest downloads? Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent.
Awesome. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great evening. Take
you.
care.
Thank you.